Hey guys, Brandon Zerby here to talk about sleep supplements. Now we know that those on a whole foods plant-based diet will become deficient in vitamin B12 unless they use supplementation to achieve optimal health. We also know that most people will become deficient in vitamin D3 without consistent sun exposure, and therefore need supplementation for optimal health. But what about sleep? Are there any deficiencies we commonly see that would disrupt our sleep quality and continuity that would be improved through supplementation? What about melatonin and magnesium or tryptophan? What about some of the new and trendy products like CBD, Valerian Root, or L-Theanine? It's really made me wonder, are there any sleep supplements worth taking? Well, I spent hours combing through the findings of sleep and supplementation experts like Andrew Huberman, Michael Greger, and Matthew Walker and found a lot of interesting stuff. So, let's get into it. Let's start off with the most popular supplement on the market, melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone released by the pineal gland in the brain, somewhere around here, I think. And it's responsible for a number of different things, including sleepiness. And it's predominantly regulated by light exposure. So as I've mentioned in a previous post, as we experience early morning light exposure will halt the secretion of melatonin in the brain, and therefore we don't feel sleepy anymore in the mornings. And as it gets darker at night, and light exposure is limited, the pineal gland will start producing and secreting the melatonin again, making us feel sleepy. But the important thing to know about melatonin is it primarily helps us fall asleep and not necessarily stay asleep. So as Matthew Walker puts it, if you were to think of sleep as a 100-meter race, then melatonin is the gun that initiates the race, but it doesn't have a leg in the competition. So theoretically, if you wanted to supplement your sleep with melatonin, then theoretically it could help you fall asleep quicker, but it's not necessarily going to help with sleep quality, sleep continuity, or sleep duration, making it not that great of a sleep aid. On top of that, melatonin is considered a supplement and not a drug by the FDA, which means it's fairly unregulated. This means that you can feel kind of confident that what's shown on the bottle doesn't match the contents of what's in the pill. They've actually done numerous different studies on various melatonin brands and found ranges between 83% less and 478% more melatonin in the actual pill than what was labeled on the bottle. So you can never really know how much you're actually taking. But why does this matter? Well, in certain animal species, the release of elevated levels of melatonin in seasonal breeding animals can cause the ovaries in females and testicles in males to shrink enough so that they become infertile. In certain kinds of hamsters, the testicles shrink from the size of a grape all the way down to the size of a grain of rice. And I thought about putting a graphic up here to demonstrate that, but I think your imagination is enough. And while this doesn't happen in humans, a study concluded that to assume it would not have some sexual effect in humans would almost seem naive. Melatonin can also affect the release of certain hormones that trigger puberty and regulate our body. This has led many experts to recommend avoiding melatonin supplementation, especially in kids who haven't gone through puberty yet. But I should note that there are some studies that have shown benefits to melatonin supplementation, and those who are jet lagged from traveling multiple time zones, and the elderly whose natural melatonin levels seem to decline as they age. While these one-off scenarios could be beneficial for melatonin supplementation, I think the risks of regular use to the reproductive system and the endocrine system just aren't worth the reward. And if you are worried about managing your melatonin levels, you'll have a lot more benefits without the risks by making lifestyle changes. Managing your light exposure, environmental temperature, and workout schedule almost always dials in your melatonin levels optimally. And if you're still concerned about melatonin and want to supplement, maybe first try supplementing with foods that already contain high levels of melatonin, such as raspberries, pistachios, or goji berries. Try having them maybe an hour before bedtime and see how it works. Another win for the whole foods plant-based diet, because you're not going to find much melatonin in dairy or meat. Next, let's touch on magnesium. Magnesium is a mineral that's critical in allowing the body and brain to function healthfully. And it has many different roles within the body, including reducing anxiety, increasing relaxation, and quieting down the nervous system. And all three of those are important to getting high quality sleep. So it only makes sense that optimal consumption of magnesium would be a good sleep aid. And when put to the test, some studies have shown benefits to magnesium supplementation, but mostly with the elderly. And this made me wonder, why would magnesium help out the elderly more than everyone else? Well, it turns out that 48% of Americans are deficient in magnesium, and the elderly are the most deficient. So based on my thoughts and looking through the research, it seems as though people who are deficient in magnesium may benefit from magnesium supplementation, but those who already have an abundant source of magnesium probably won't benefit too much. So what's the best way to get our daily intake of magnesium? Well, it turns out that magnesium supplementation does work in raising our magnesium levels, but is often associated with diarrhea, nausea, and abdominal cramping. And that's just something I like to avoid. Luckily, magnesium is found abundantly in whole plant foods, dark leafy greens, nuts, and seeds are the best sources for magnesium, with a quarter cup of pumpkin seeds providing the most magnesium, about 46% of your daily value. So if you're focusing on eating a whole foods plant-based diet with a variety of greens, this is something magnesium levels that you just won't have to worry about. So since this is what I do, I take a pass on the magnesium supplements and just opt for some plants. Now let's discuss serotonin. Serotonin is a hormone that regulates our mood and helps us feel satisfied. And often in people who are depressed, they have low levels of serotonin. But serotonin is also responsible for helping us develop our sleep pressure throughout the day and into the night. And if we don't have optimal levels of serotonin, then we might have a hard time getting to bed. So you might think that consuming high serotonin foods or serotonin supplements would be good for your sleep, but it's not. It turns out that consuming high serotonin foods or serotonin supplements does raise serotonin levels in the blood, but it doesn't pass the highly coveted blood-brain barrier. That barrier has more important things that it needs to let pass, like water, glucose, and essential amino acids. But it turns out that tryptophan is an essential amino acid that crosses the blood-brain barrier and is also vital in creating serotonin. So theoretically, if we were to consume tryptophan, it should help us raise our serotonin levels, which should then help with our sleep quality. And when put to the test, it does. So then the next question becomes, what's the best way to raise our tryptophan levels? Well, it turns out that supplements do work, but they mess with our sleep stages, decreasing deep sleep and increasing REM sleep, which isn't really ideal. And tryptophan supplements have also had a history of impurities that have led to acetylfibromyalgia or something like that I'll just point to over here, which can be incurable, debilitating, and sometimes fatal. So that's just something I also would like to avoid. Luckily, whole plant foods come to the rescue again, with sunflower, pumpkin, and sesame seeds providing the largest tryptophan to total protein ratio. Not only does consuming these foods eliminate the possibility of you getting acetylfibromyalgia, but it also doesn't mess with your deep versus REM sleep either. So instead of taking tryptophan supplements, I would recommend plants again. And lastly, I'll quickly cover CBD. I was also going to cover L-Theanine, chamomile, and Valerian Root, but there just isn't a lot of scientific data out there for me to base my opinion on. And that's kind of the case with CBD too, but here's the information that we do have. Some early stage studies have shown that CBD can help reduce anxiety in some situations at the right doses. Theoretically, this effect should help people fall asleep quicker, but we just don't know how significant the benefits are or what the possible side effects could be. And some studies have even shown that too much CBD can inhibit sleep. Either way, CBD has been shown to be better than THC, which is found in marijuana though. THC, on the other hand, not only has dependence and tolerance issues, but it is also a significant disruptor of sleep, reducing many people's abilities to generate REM sleep. So I think I'll skip on the CBD and the THC as well. So here are my final thoughts. Certainly, melatonin is a critical hormone for sleep, but it's best managed through early morning light exposure, followed by late evening light restriction. Magnesium also plays a key role for sleep, but it's best consumed in its whole food plant-based form, found in pumpkin seeds, almonds, and cashews. Serotonin not only helps with depression and mood, but can help with sleep too. And one of the easy ways to increase our serotonin levels is by consuming high tryptophan to total protein ratio foods, which are commonly found in sesame seeds and pumpkin seeds. And while CBD may have some early stage studies on its side, there just isn't a lot of data out there similar to L-Theanine, chamomile, and Valerian Root. So if you're looking to optimize your sleep, your best bet is skipping out on the supplements and dialing in those lifestyle behaviors. And to me, that sounds like a life that's both healthier and happier. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Lastly, I offer a free health kit, which has my top 10 sleep tips, one whole foods plant-based recipe, and mobility workout that you can stream on any device. That is free. There's a link down in the description for that. It also gets you signed up to my weekly newsletter, where I provide the 3 most important things I've read, watched, and listened to within the past week. All of that completely free. Link down in the description if you're interested. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.